Thank you for a great introduction, and let's start. So, just confirmation. Can you hear me clearly, and can you see my screen? The presentation is visible to you all, guys.
Uh, yes, sir.
Right. So, let's start. And we have a chat option available in this Google Meet option. So, we can use this option to interact. So, whenever you have any question in between, you can ask me through the chat, man. And I request everyone to keep their mic on mute because it disturbs a lot. So let's start. So the today's topic which I'm going to cover with you guys is the preparing for changing job roles post COVID-19. So just to directly jump on the topic, I would like to start from the education system, Indian education system, and in Indian education system, the what I believe and what most of the educationists believe nowadays is your degree is not enough, right? When you go for any company's interview or when you go for any institutional interview, most of the time HR team is used to struggle with this type of question that is this degree is enough or not. So that's why once they see your CV or resume and they see your degrees and they see then they start looking towards your experiences in your resume or CV, and then they are not able to match your experiences with your degree or with your education and with the job role which they required. So let's try to figure out why the degree is not enough. So in classical education system, degree is a center of importance. And when the degree is clubbed with the experience, we call it education. And further, when the education combined with more experience, then we call it as knowledge. And then the next step, when the knowledge is combined with the further experience, then we call it as wisdom. So this is the path, this is the career path for any individual, how he or she starts his education as a student, and it goes on as an experienced professional. So what's the challenge? What's the challenge? Challenge is technology have found a way to replace the human experience by machine experience. That's the biggest challenge. Now, earlier, we used to think that the if a human with a degree or education with the experience, he's an expert. But now, the story is not the same, right? Because technology have answer to experience. Machines can also learn, machine can also experience, and machine can also achieve the expertise. So this is going to be a big challenge for a human being, because if any other, if I'll talk to other professionals or other industrialists, so sometime the education teachers also, they used to claim that this kind of technology is going to be a threat for a human being. I don't feel like this is going to be a threat for a human being. This is going to be a challenge, and which will puts a pressure on us to improve our the way we think and the way we work and the way we live our life, right? So let's take few examples, learn from our history. So Charles Darwin, he is a sailor by profession, and what he have given to this world, the most important discovery is theory of evolution. This is what coined by Charles Darwin, right? Then the another one is Jaeger Mendel. Okay, he is a mathematician who have proposed the fundamental of genetics to this world. And the not the last one, but the Leonardo da Vinci. He's the most expert person I believe on this globe. Okay, and who is a painter, architect, technologist, and inventor. But he haven't went to a school or he don't hold any formal degree. So if you're not able to connect with the history, let's connect with the present. So these are the three individuals who have changed the world, actually, right? The first one is Steve Jobs. He was a CEO and the chairman of Apple Incorporation, and I know everyone must be knowing about Apple. He was a college dropout, and he given a two big technologies to this world, two big companies to this world, the Apple and Pixar. Pixar is an animation venture which was started by Steve Jobs, and uh, Pixar have given a lot of animation to this world, a lot of animated movies, lot of animated contents. And the Apple, I think everybody knows about Apple already. The next name what I would like to take is Elon Musk. He is a Stanford dropout. Stanford is a university, where I think everybody who holds a master and wanted to do a PhD. So Stanford is one of the top universities from where every individual wanted to do a PhD. But he left his PhD right after 2 days of joining the course, and he started the company called Tesla and SpaceX. And these Tesla is a giant in electric motor vehicles, and SpaceX is giant in space research. The last one, the example what I wanted to take is Jack Ma. Jack Ma, he's the CEO and the owner of Alibaba, a perfect example of success through failures. He did BA in English and he's leading the world. He is a CEO of one of the biggest export and import company called Alibaba from China, right? So these are the people who have changed the way we think, the way we live. Okay, but if you look at their degree and their education, they don't have a formal degree or formal education. Okay, what they are, which is required for what they are doing today, right? So that's a just example. Let's I also would like to bring your attention towards one of the very famous law called Moore's law. Okay, and this Moore's law, which is published in April 1965. Okay, the law states that the processor speed of overall processing power for computer will double about every 18 months. Now you must be wondering that why I'm telling you these all things. I'm t- because why I wanted to focus on these all things, and what I wanted try to set here is that your degree is not enough. The curriculum which we are following is not enough. It is not going to make you a complete professional, right? So this Moore's law says that after every 18 months, the speed of the computing is going to be double, right? Which leads to a bigger computer sizes to the handheld computers or the handheld mobiles which we are having today. So this is how the technology is growing. After every 8 months, 18 months, the speed of computing is going to be double. Okay, and believe me, this law is no more valid now. Okay, why this law is no more valid? The another example is quantum supremacy. Quantum supremacy is a supercomputer which is proposed by the Google, and which says, okay, which is proposed by the Google in October 2019, and which says that a normal computer it can solve such a fast speed that normal computer which takes around 10,000 years to do the computing, this quantum supremacy processor can calculate the same thing within 3 minutes. This is how the speed of information is changing. Now, the another example which I wanted to take is here the world is changing very fast is Hyperloop is a frictionless transport system which can run at 1200 kilometer per hour, right? This is a possible speed. Now, this is very interesting thing for you all to connect with why I'm telling your degree is not enough, right? So this is a Bucky curve, and we call it as Bucky curve. And this curve is proposed by the Buckminster Fuller. He is the person who have proposed the knowledge doubling curve. And if you look at this curve, 1440 to 1940, it takes 400 years to double the knowledge. Then after 1990, okay, like 1900 century to 1950, it took 50 years to double the knowledge. Then after 1950 to 1970, okay, it takes 20 years to double the knowledge. What I'm saying, what do you mean by double the knowledge means, uh, let's say the X amount of information is available today in this on this earth. So after 400 years, it is going to be 2x. after next 50 years it is going to be 3x, right? So this is how the information is keep on increasing and increasing, right? And what then you try to compare how much information you are learning today every day, right? And in 2017, a research shows the entire amount of information, entire amount of knowledge is going to double within a year. And you would be surprised to see that in 2020, IBM predicts that the knowledge doubling of knowledge is going to happen after every 12 hours. Now, the question comes here that how we can expect our curriculum to be a update which reforms after every 3 to 4 years or 5 years, or sometime, I know the universities and I know the education system which are not being reformed from last 50 years even. So how we can expect that our degree is going to be enough? But don't take me otherwise. I'm not advocating that you don't do the formal education and stop doing the formal education and start. No, sorry. I want you to do the degree. I want you to do the formal education, but I wanted to show you that what extra you have to do to be with the speed of this world, right? So you have to be a great learner to catch up the speed of this world, right? This world is changing very fast. Now, the another very important aspect which I wanted to focus on is the employability in India. Okay, so this is the data which is proposed by the India Skill Report, and it is proposed in 2020. And you can see here the 2020 data of employability, right? The BTech, MTech, the BTech is less than 50%. Can you imagine the engineers? We the employability of engineers are less than 50%. The MBA is just 54%, and all other education degrees are having a employability less than 50%. Now the question is why? The question is why? Because I have already given the answer in my previous slides that the knowledge is doubling in every 12 hours, and our education system is not enough to handle this. And most of you, I learned from your professors that you are a BEd students, or most of you are doing a BSc or BEd students. So you people will going to be a teacher or professor in coming time. So you have to keep this thing in your mind that the curriculum is not going to be enough. You have to teach something extra to your students. You have to give extra exposures to your students. Think about how you can bring this innovation in your education system. So this is employability in India, and employability percentage in India is very, very poor all across the globe, right? Though we are very good, we are producing a 10 lakhs engineers every year, but out of 10 lakh, I think only 40 to 4 lakh to 5 lakh engineers are able to secure a job, right? So that's the very alarming data. So what's the problem actually? Where is the problem? The problem is what industry required today and what we produce. It has a talent gap, and that talent gap basically resists our industries, our companies to hire a fresh graduates, graduates without experience. That is why once you pass out from your college, you go into industry, and then you will see that everyone is asking for experience, right? But can you imagine that if no one will going to give experience to the students, then how the industry is going to get an experienced individuals? It is impossible, right? Because every experience in individual is a fresher one or other day, right? So what we have to change in our education system, the change in our education system is we have to start practicing a different methodologies. We have to start attracting more innovative methodologies in our education system so that we can make our students ready for the future. The another thing is we are living in a VUCA world. What is this VUCA term is? Okay, and now I'm going to correlate this entire scenario with the COVID. Okay, so VUCA is a word which is coined by the US university and which is widely used for US military. Okay, what is this VUCA? VUCA stand for is a volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Right, these are the four things. And believe me, after this COVID situation, okay, after this COVID situation, we all we all are living in this VUCA world. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Okay, like COVID have stopped the life of everyone, right? No leader, no scientist can tell exactly what is going to happen right after 1 year. Okay, this is what the world where we are living to, right? So it makes us more responsible for our future, that we have to prepare in a different way. We have to prepare for future. So how the jobs are changing in the industry. The research shows 6 out of 10 positions will not exist in next coming 10 years. Okay. For example, if you are, if let's say in an Indian industry, there are 100 employees who are employed in one company. Out of 100 employees, 60 positions will not be existing after 10 years. These positions may either uh, change, may either change the the way industry works, or may this position will change, or may this position will go out because of the technology or automation. So this is a one thing. Then the another information which I wanted to give you, if you are a student today, 60% of you will do a job which is not existing now. Then it makes your life more challenging, that you don't know where you are going to be employed, because the jobs which are existing today will not exist tomorrow. Okay, I will give you some examples why I'm saying this. Okay, so according to a few surveys, okay, the survey happened in 2018, and survey says that the impact of technology on the industries are going to happen by 2023. But oh, I can see some ping in the. Okay, so the what this survey says, that the impact of the new technologies which is coming in the industries are going to change the job scenario by 2023. But this COVID situation made the industries go more faster and adopt these technologies, because here in this situation there is a risk or there is a threat to the human life, right? The second survey finding, World Economic Forum says 85% of companies are going to accelerate the adaptation of technology by 2021. So 85% of companies are going to adopt these new technologies in their day-to-day uh, work culture. But this projection says 2021, this survey, but now I will comment, after COVID situation, this is going to happen in 2020. And most of the companies have adopted this challenge, because nowadays what is a challenge with the companies are that the the employees cannot walk to the facility, employees cannot walk to the factory, and the resulting is the production is going slow. If the company wanted to keep up the production high, they have to adopt the new technologies, new production technologies. I'll show you some examples of new production technologies in my coming slide. And the most important factor which I wanted to focus on is the reorientation of role between the human and machine, human versus machine ratio. So just try to understand, when we set up any industry, when we set up any office, when we set up any work, okay, so the human resource, the HR has to plan how much work, let's say the work, the total work is 100%, then how much work is supposed to be done by the machine and how much work is supposed to be done by the humans. So that defines how many people are going to employ in one factory, one office, or one work culture, workspace. So this human ratio, human versus machine ratio, is going to change very rapidly, and it's changing very rapidly. I'll show you this in my coming slides. So these are the few roles which are going to be out. Okay, and these are the few new roles which are going to come in, and these are the stable roles. So in this slide I have tried to show, I have picked up few roles, few examples of positions in the industry which are going to be stable, few new roles, and few redundant roles. Redundant roles means the roles which are going to be out. Okay, the best example you can take is data entry operator. Now world don't require data entry operator at all. We don't need data entry operators. Why we don't need data or entry operators? Because most of the data entries are happen by the machine itself, or by every individual. right? So this is what this is a survey conducted by the World Economic Forum in 2018. This is a latest survey which is available on World Economic Forum website, and you can download this and go through it, right? The another thing is I wanted to show you the effect of workforce of current growth strategy by proportion of companies. Okay, so modification of composite value chain is 59%. The main thing which you wanted to focus on is expand current workforce due to automation is just 28%. Okay, expand current workforce 38%. Okay, modification in the location of operation, right? You must have heard everywhere that India is going to be a big manufacturing hub. Okay, why, on what basis the people are claiming that India is going to be big manufacturing hub? Based on this survey, the modified location of operation reduce current workforce due to automation. Can you imagine? We are going to cut down 50% of job in coming 1 year from the industries. It is not, it's irrespective of COVID-19. Even if the COVID-19 is not there, then to the industry is going to cut down the 50% of jobs, okay, because of automation, because machine can do most of the jobs. And I'm going to give you some examples also how the machines are changing the life of the world. Okay, comparing the skill demand 2018 versus 2022. Okay, so most of the manual work is going to be out from the industries. Okay, most of the automated works are going to come in. You may come across a new position in the industry called data scientist. Okay, data analytics. These are the new things which are coming in. And in 2018 we have a demand of analytical thinking, innovation, complex problem solving, critical thinking, analysis. Okay, these are the demands of 2018. But in 2022, by 2022, that there would be a demand of automation, there would be a demand of data analytics, there would be a demand of leadership, there would be a demand of emotional intelligence, there would be a demand of reasoning, there would be a demand of problem solvers, right? We don't need followers now in this world, actually, because following can be done by the machines very well, right? this is how the this is how the world is changing, right? So hire new permanent staff with skills relevant to the new technologies. So all the companies are going to look forward for a new employees who are already skilled. Okay, so let's say if there is 100 companies, so 84 companies are going to look forward for employees who are already skilled. And already skilled employees will come from where? Already skilled employee will come from the colleges, from the schools, from the institutions. But our curriculum is not meeting that demand. So this is again a one strategy which is going to be adopted by the by the uh, industries. Then retain the existing employees. So 72% of the employees are going to be retained in the industry, because but the industry have to do a lot of reskilling. Okay, so there are three terms in terms of skilling. Okay, number one is skilling. When, for example, if I got any fresh graduate from the college and I am teaching them how to work on day-to-day basis in the company, that is a skilling of an employee. When that employee have completed 3 years or 2 years of job down the line in the company, and again I'm giving him a training to improve his work, okay, that is reskilling. Now if I wanted to transform my employee from one role to another role, or from the changing requirements, that is known as upskilling. Okay, so the industries runs on two fundamentals, that is reskilling and upskilling. So 72% of the employees can be going to be in a company only when the companies are going to invest on reskilling. And I'm not sure how much companies are going to invest on employees education and training, but still, uh, employees education, training and development is a big contributor for any companies. And the most of the bigger companies are having very big training and development department. They need so many trainers, they need so many training developers, they need so many learning strategy developers, okay, to run the show in the market. Then you know depending upon how any industry decides that at which location we wanted to put our factories. Okay, so you will see almost all the big companies like Apple, Tesla, every big companies are having a production or the manufacturing in China. The reason is China have a resource availability and the labor availability very easily, right? And the second country in competition with China is India, right? So on what basis we decide that the uh, where we are going to put our plant or our factory? Okay, that depends on three factors. That is talent availability, labor cost, and production cost. Okay, but till 2019, the primary factor was labor cost. If the labor cost is lesser, the company is going to invest in that country. For example, lot of investment happen in China, in Vietnam, in Indonesia because of the lower labor cost. But now the companies have changed the way they think. Now they are thinking of changing the way they they do a business. They're thinking of either the talent is available in that country or not. If the talent is not available in that country, there is no point to have a cheap labors, right? So labor cost is no more a center of attraction or no more a primary factor to decide the location of any factory, right? So now the primary factor you can see is a talent availability. If the talent is available in a particular country, then the companies will go. Then companies will go and set up their manufacturing in that country and they will produce in that country. What is the difference between talent and labor? Okay, labor is an unskilled employee. Talent, when I'm saying the talent availability, it means the availability of skilled employees, unskilled employees, or the trained employees, right? So the companies have started focusing on talent availabilities nowadays. This is the most important thing which I wanted to tell you here, the machine versus human ratio, right? So earlier till 2018, the machine versus human ratio is almost 47 to 53%, right? But now in 2022, this ratio is going to be restructured a lot. The machine is going to change this ratio somewhere near to 60-40. The 60% of work is going to be done by the machines and 40% of the work is going to be done by the human. So you can imagine how drastically we don't require human manpower in a coming time, right? Now the data which I have shown you just now, I'm going to give you some of the some of the very basic examples, okay, which real-time examples which are going to support this survey, okay, how the world is changing. So there is a report by the Business World that robots are going to replace 20 million factory jobs, okay, by 2030. Another example is Adidas Speed Factory. Okay, I think everybody must be knowing about this company called Adidas. They are into the sports wear manufacturing, right? So recently, in 2015 and 2016, Adidas have invested huge on these speed factories. And what these speed factories are going to do, they are going to produce a shoes, or they are going to produce a shoes without any human intervention. It's a complete robotic factory. Okay, so Adidas was having a biggest factory in Vietnam where they used to produce all these sportswear, all these shoes. Now they have shifted back to Germany, their plant back to Vietnam to Germany back. Okay, just to start with this speed factory. And there is a no human being working in these speed factories. They are fully automated. The robots are producing the shoes. Okay, you can go on the Google and you can search, you can read more and more about Adidas Speed Factory. This is a one example of automation, how the automation is replacing the human need and human requirement by the industries. Second example is Amazon Go. Okay, Amazon, I think everybody knows, right? So Amazon is also investing on a new technology where they are designing a stores where they don't need any cashier or any person inside the store. You simply walk in the store, you just pick up whatever you want and go out. It would be charged automatically to your credit card. No human intervention is required. Totally human free environment, right? So these are the some photographs I have shown on the screen. These are the Amazon Go stores from US. Okay, and they have already started 4 or 5 Go stores, and they are doing this as a pilot experiment. If it is successful, they are going to replicate this Amazon Go stores all over the world, where you can walk inside the store, just pick whatever you want and go out. It will automatically charge to your credit card or a debit card or your bank account. Right. This is what the another example which is going to hit the market and hit the employment in near future. The another example, I think this is going to amaze you. The robotic lawyers are here and they are winning, right? So there is a suburb bank in Russia, okay, and last year they have fired 3,000 lawyers from their organization, and these 3,000 jobs are being replaced by the robotic lawyers. A lawyer, a machine lawyer, who's going to do everything what a human lawyer is doing. This is how the world is going to change, okay? And they have replaced 3,000 human lawyers in suburb bank. Can you imagine how the world is changing? Another example I wanted to right, and this is a good case study also. Here I can show you that there was a competition organized in 2017, and what we have found. What is the finding of the competition? The robotic lawyers have won the cases 86.6%, whereas the human lawyers have won the cases by 62.3%. So what is more efficient, and where the industry is going to, what the industry is going to adopt? No doubt, the technology. The another one is, it's a very good example and very fascinating example for me, that we always talk about creativity. We always, novel writing, the book writing. We always feel, the book writing is going to be a very creative job, and it can be written by anybody who is very much expert, very much innovative, very much creative. Okay, and I don't know how to quote this, but this is a great challenge. The challenge is, in Japan, there is a competition organized for the novel writing competition, and the AI, the artificial intelligence based software, have won this competition of novel writing. So the next feature is, next technology which is going to change our life is driverless cars. The Google, the Tesla, almost all the companies are investing very huge amount, okay, in developing the driverless cars, and the driverless cars are already developed, already in the trial phases. And once this will be rolled out in the countries, rolled out on the roads, I believe there lakhs and lakhs of drivers are going to lose their jobs. And these cars are far accurate than the manual driving. So can you imagine how the world is changing? The next the next killer for the farmers in coming time, manual farming would be a history, right? Nowadays, robotic farms, okay, farm automations are in the practices, in the style. And if you'll go to some of the countries like Netherlands, like US, okay, they have totally automated the farming, and one or other day it is going to be adopted by India as well. So farmers are also at risk, right? So this another so just to summarize, I just wanted to give you 12 jobs that will go out in next 20 years due to artificial intelligence, right? The first job which is going to be out of this world in next 20 years is the construction workers. We will not requiring a construction workers in next coming few years, after 20 years maybe, right? The drivers are not going to be required. And it's not drivers. If I'm using the word driver, it is not only the car driver. It is going to be any driver who drives any machine, maybe a crane, maybe any heavy earth moving machines. The farmers, the manual work is going to be out. Anybody who is involved in printers and publisher business is also going to be out. Print media will be a history soon, right? Can you imagine how many of you are reading a newspaper now? Everybody is having an application, newspaper application in their phone, and they read all the newses, right, at more efficient way, right? So printer and publications are going to be outdated. The next one is cashiers, the bank jobs. I see at a most risky profession. And it may, that is why, most of the banks are talking about privatizations. Most of the banks are going to adopt the technologies, and a lot of things are being already automated in the banks, and the bank jobs are again at risk. Somebody who is talking about travel agencies, travel agents. Okay, I don't know, like, you all must be traveling, right? And I can take my example also. I'm also traveling a lot, but in last 3 years, I haven't went to any travel agent to book my tickets. I book my ticket from Make My Trip. I book my ticket from IRCTC. I book my hotels, everything. So I don't need a man. I don't need a human being to assist me in my travel planning, right? I have a tools available. Then the seventh one would be the manufacturing workers, assembly line workers, because this is going to be all robotic. Bank tellers. Okay, and you can imagine, right? This is an era of UPI. This is an era of Google Pay. This is an era of Paytm. This is an era of internet banking. How many of you are really going to the bank to do your financial transactions? I haven't been into a bank from last 5 years. Okay, just to take out my cash or anything for any damn work. I haven't been into a bank. So this is going to happen one other day. Military pilots and soldiers are also be going to be replaced very soon in coming year, because the US have already started the experiments with the robotic soldiers. Okay, and they are far accurate than the manual soldiers. So maybe I know that there are a lot of emotions attached to the soldiers. That is one thing, and full respect to that. But when it comes to efficiency, the machines are much efficient than anything else. Accountants, the CAs, is at huge risk. This profession is going to be obsolete very soon. Stock traders, lawyers. So these are the 12 jobs which are going to be out from the industry in next coming 20 years. This is a research not done by me. This is a research by the Forbes. Forbes is Forbes and Indeed. These are the two platforms. Forbes are the research firm which used to publish this kind of data, and the Indeed is a job portal which also conduct this kind of research. So these are the research which are shown by the Forbes. Now there is a good news for you guys, that 12 jobs that will thrive in future. What is going to come out in next coming years? Okay, the first thing which is going to be booming a lot in the industry is a data scientist. Anybody who deals with the data, anybody who plays with the data. Okay, this job is going to be a big boom in coming time, and it's all the industry have already seen a big boom in data scientist positions. And you can imagine any company, any industry is not existing now as of now in India which does not have a data scientist. Okay, the another one is robotic manufacturing and service management. People care people care is going to increase a lot. The nurses, the doctors, the coaches, the teachers. Okay, where we need a human touch. So this is also going to be increase a lot. IT in medicine. We cannot imagine the information technology in medicine so far, but just a right example I can pick up. The lot of research are very coming very soon. The drugs are coming very soon for the COVID-19. Why? How these drugs are coming very soon? Okay, and we are talking to have a vaccine for the COVID-19 in next coming 1 or 2 years. Okay, what made this possible? Okay, I know there is a hard work of the scientists and the life science people, but the data the data and the information is playing a very vital role in IT in medicine. Okay, that is basically enabling the the scientists to go very fast with the data, and that is why the trials are being very expedited, because the information can be handled much better way, the way we were handling. Because in previous years, in the past, if you'll go in the past, then you will see that to bring one vaccine in the market, it takes almost 10 years. Now we are talking about to bring the medicine in the market within 2 years or within 6 months. So this is, yes, this is going to happen. The another big area is going to be of creative professionals. Okay, the professionals who like photographies, bloggers, creative content developers. Like a lot of people have started shooting their videos and putting on YouTube, and they started earning a lot. Okay, a lot of people are doing photography. A lot of people have started writing, blogging, right? So these creative professionals are always going to be a center of attraction. That is the one thing. Then the another is developers. Okay, the people who develop the program, the softwares. Okay, then the seventh one is more maybe for your interest, the new education. Okay, skill development professionals. The world is going to require more and more skill development professionals, more and more educational advisors, more and more curriculum development advisors. Okay, so these jobs are also going to thrive, but don't uh, I just wanted to make a very strong comment. If you are going to be a normal common teacher who is going to teach A for apple, okay, I think the world is not going to require this kind of teachers. Because if you look at the YouTube, look at the software, look at the automatic learning softwares, they are teaching in such a good way, okay, that people can learn much faster from them. So you have to think about teaching differently, teaching more innovative. The next big threat is IT security. If you are into IT security, okay, this job is going to be boom. New drug developers, body and organ creators, basically a biology scientist, this is also going to be a boom, right? New drug developers, because the world is predicting more and more pandemics in coming year, and the COVID-19 situation, this gives a hope for a new hopes for a new jobs for a new drug developers. Business developers are still needed. Alternate medicines, I mean, like like yoga, physical instructors, okay, homeopathy, ayurveda, this is also going to improve a lot in coming time. And somebody who is into people engagement, maybe a psychiatrist, maybe a coach, okay. Because just I can give you one example for people engagement is like, uh, nowadays most of the workers, most of the professionals are working from home. They haven't seen a human from last 4 months, and we as a human, we are more we are more prone to see from our eyes, and we are not able to see the human from last 3 4 months. We are not able to communicate the way we were communicating with the humans, right? So most of the people, we are going to have a more depressed people in this world. We are going to have more mentally depressed people in this world. So to handle that depression, we required more and more professionals. So that is going to be a one area which is going to thrive. Okay. So now the question is, I have given you all the problems, I have given you the future, I have given you. So the question is, like, being a student, what you can do, right? What you can do to improve yourself. So first of all, I would like to tell you that don't hope, because hope is not a strategy. Try to have, okay, like it's a very old saying that hope everything will be good or everything would be fine, okay, but hope is not a strategy. So don't depend on your hopes that everything is going to improve, okay, or maybe I'm going to do a B.Ed and then one day I will become a teacher, okay, I will get a job for another 5 years or another in 3 years, and I will employed and I will start earning. So don't do the hope is not a strategy, please. Then what you have to do is start developing a skills in you, start talking about upskilling of yourself. And the best thing is, as a generation, we have to transform the way we learn, we work, and we live. That is very important. We have to transform. The next one is choose to transform, not to survive. Okay, because most of these students are making a biggest blunder in their life, that they think and they plan for their survival. That if I'll get a government job, then my life is very smooth. If I'll get a clerical job in a bank, okay, I will clear a bank entrance exam. My life is going to be very smooth. If I'll complete this course, I will get a job. Sorry, the world is not going to have a person who needs a survival, okay, because the theory already says that the survival of fittest one. Whenever we think of surviving, we are going to face a huge competition, because most of the people think for survival. But if you start thinking for transforming, let's say I'm into education, let's say I'm a teacher, let's transform the way we teach, let's transform the way we interact with our students, let's transform the way people are doing a banking, these are going to be a heroes in this world. So don't think about survival, try to think for transforming wherever you are, in whichever field you are, and everything can be transformed. Okay, try to figure out the problems in the system, try to figure out the solution for that, try to figure out the future problems, and try to figure out the solution for that. That is really going to help a lot. Okay, so always think for transformations, don't think for survival, because survival is going to be tough in this world, that is for sure. So what you can do in this time, okay, uh, first of all, try to read more and more, and try to read carefully, because I said that the information is going to develop after every 12 hours. So we are going to have a huge information. So try to choose wisely what you wanted to choose. Okay, what you wanted to read. That is the one thing. The second thing is develop hobbies. Develop hobbies, basically. Why the hobbies required? Hobbies are required for pushing our creativity skills, for pushing our engagement with the life. Okay, the hobbies are very much important. And what, nowadays when I go to the colleges or schools, I talk to the people, I talk to the students, and I used to ask them, what's your hobby? They say, they start thinking, what's my hobby? That's very funny thing. Okay, so always try to have one hobby for yourself, which you can enjoy, okay, which you can create, which you can engage yourself. That is very important, because as I said, the world is going to be have more and more depressed people, and these depressed people most of the time are those who don't have any hobbies. So try to keep a hobby for yourself. I think I have already covered on third point, that is a find a problem and think solution. Okay, practice it, repeat, practice it again and again. Okay, so I tried to tell you that problem solving skills you have to develop in yourself, right? How you are going to develop this. And even if the teachers are in this call, I would like to request you, just start practicing in the classroom. Try to realize a very immediate problem in your society, in your arena, in your college, in your classroom, in your in yourself, right? Try to find out these problems and try to work around these problems, that how we are going to solve this problem. So this is something we have to start. Solving skills, this is something we have to start from our school level to the college level and then to the company level. And believe me, the people who have problem solving skills, they are the top employers, they are the top requirement for any companies. And the people who have the problem solving skills, they becomes a leader. So try to start finding the problems in your surrounding and try to work on it, try to develop a solution in it, and practice. Okay. The next thing is practice leadership. Okay. The leaders cannot be born in a single day. Leaders cannot be born in a single day, and everyone cannot be a leader. So to become a leader, but leadership is not a born talent. Leadership is not a born talent. So to to become a leader, you have to practice the leadership. So start practicing the leadership, and you can read a lot of ideas how to become a leader. Then be creative, think about something art, focus on your fitness is very important. Develop your future roadmap, that is very important. The last one is sort yourself. Sort yourself is a basically is a term which I use a lot. Sort is the analysis type of business analysis, which stands for strong, weak, opportunity, and threats analysis. And please, whenever you are alone, whenever you are sitting alone and thinking for yourself, please do a sort for yourself. Try to find out the strong point of yourself, try to find out your weakness, try to find out the opportunities which you have, and try to find out the threats which you have. So you should have your sort analysis report ready for yourself, so that it will help you out to plan your future better. Right, that's all for the day. If you have any questions now, I would love to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
We learned a lot. It was really an amazing session. I guess our participants now have few questions. I request Sheena Uddin to kindly ask the questions on the behalf of our participants.
Um, my voice
Yeah,
is
yeah,
clear.
please go ahead.
Okay, sir, it's our pleasure to have a word of wisdom about the new normals due to COVID-19 by you. Sir, I would like to ask you that, as we all know, work from home has become the new normal. What are the qualities required to find jobs which has these orientation?
Okay, so see, first of all, I would like to tell you one thing that for India, work from home is very new thing. Okay, but for US, it is from ages. In US, it's very common that most of the jobs are work from home. But in India, it's not the case. Why it is not the case in India? The work from home is not very common in India, especially for the small companies and small micro scale companies, because we people tends to cheat. That's a very big threat to the industries, and industries and the HR professionals knows this thing. When we leverage the employee to work from home, then there's a very high chances that he will not engage for 8 hours or 9 hours in a day, right? So first of all, we have to be honest. That is the basic requirement, right? When we are working from home, we are working from home. Okay, and why we are not honest? Because we have started this practice from our school and the college, right? When the teacher used to assign an homework, what we used to do with that, right? We used to just ask for a notebook of someone else, and we start copying and submit to the teacher, and teacher is a responsibility of teacher, just keep checking it out and just giving me back, right? So this is somewhere we have to eliminate this. We have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to be more honest with the systems for which we are working. This is one thing. The another thing is, work from home have its own challenges and its own benefits, right? The another thing is, right now we are talking about the employees goodwill, employees health, employees mental health. That is going to be a great challenge, because we, from as a human, we are trained to work in a group, we are trained to work in between the human. And when you work for a month or for years sitting at your home, you're not seeing a human being, you're not communicating, you're not. So the challenge is, how you're going to develop yourself. I say that, you join a company today as an executive, but you wanted to become a director or a CEO in the company. Okay, then how you become a CEO and director in the company? Not by sitting at in your home and start working from your laptop and you become a CEO one day. No. Okay, you have to demonstrate your leadership skills. You have to demonstrate your lot of skills, lot of different skills which are required to become a CEO, and that skills are supposed to be learned. And from where you are going to learn when you are not able to see the humans? You are not going to learn from your email, you are not going to learn from your um, teams, for your Skype, for your meetings, online meetings. So these are the some few challenges on which the industries are still working. And I'm expecting that work from home is not going to be a exactly new normal for always. As soon as this is going to be minimized, as soon as this is going to be uh, reduce, I think most of the companies will start going back to the workplaces. That is what I believe in. Okay, but there are another factor also that has to be considered, but these are the factors that work from home is not going to be a new normal, according to me, right? It's a threat to the human life, actually. It's not about the work.
Sir, on behalf of Garima Lal, I would like to ask you.
Yeah.
She actually asked you what about the career in investment in banking sector.
Okay, so I just don't want it to be harsh on this question. Okay, I don't want it to be very straightforward on this question. But as I have already told you, that banking is going to be a little challenging for the future, because we as a person are looking forward to automate everything. The industry is going to automate everything. So try to develop something. If you wanted to become an investor, so try to develop some skills in yourself. For example, if I can see the balance sheet of the company, I can say that I'm going to invest this company or not. If you are able to develop these kind of skills in yourself, if you can predict the share market better than machine, then for sure you go for this career. But if you wanted to survive in this field, sorry, I'm not a great advocate of survivals. Please, okay, try to, wherever you are, whatever the profession you are choosing, try to become a transformers. The world is searching for people who are transforming, right? Industries are searching. We are, you go on LinkedIn, you'll go on Naukri.com, you will see that the jobs are open for 6 months or 8 months or 12 months. Okay, and the world is not getting the world is not getting the right talent. The companies are not getting the right talent. Why? Because most of the people think for surviving. They develop a skills for surviving, right? So try to think for transformations. Yep.
Sir, as you say, we are
Yep.
now in a new normal,
Yep.
and as you also add on that work from home is not a new thing for
Yep.
USA, for all the foreign countries, but we are Indians. So, sir, I would like to ask you, sir, as you also said about the college curriculum, that it doesn't meet our job needs
Yep.
that we are easily cope up with. So, sir, so from where we get skilled for the jobs for new normal. Yes, sir, I am graduated already with BSc, then MSc in mathematics. Now I am pursuing B.Ed. But sir, already I done my graduation, post graduation. Sir, now from where I get skilled for the new normals?
Okay, so that's a very great question, and I love to answer this one. Uh, that's a very common question that from where I will get the skills, right? You
Yeah,
know, the online education industry is booming, one of the booming education industry, right? You just try to find out what you want to be in your career. Where is your interest going, right? What makes you interesting? Just try to find out that area, that field, and try to learn on. We are living in a Google era, right? You don't have to run behind a teacher. You don't have to run behind the professors. You don't have to run behind the trainers. Okay, you can go on Google, and there is a n number of engagement materials are available. You just have to read. That's what I said to you. That's what I told you, right? You have to read. Okay, and there are online courses available. And the very good thing is that if you go on Google, you will search. There are a lot of online courses which are free of cost. You don't have to pay even, right? Like Coursera. There are so many a number of online education platforms which are available, which the courses are free of cost, or you pay a very minimal cost. Okay, and you get certification, or you get the certification on that course. So start doing that, utilize this time. Okay, so I think if somebody, a student from 2010, or a student from 2000, you know 2005 or 2003, is asking me the question that how to develop the skills, that is quite relevant. But in 2020, in the era of information technology, this question, I think better to ask this kind of question to yourself: how I will develop my skills, and you will get the answers, please. And even if you don't have the answer for this, just go on the Google and type how to develop a skill on painting, or how to develop a skill on poetry, or how to develop. You will get the answer. There are n number of answers. So I don't have to answer this question actually, but I have answered this question. Yeah.
Mm, sir, actually, there's a question from Oshi Rajvedya on behalf of her. I asked you, which specialization in MBA has a good scope in future?
Okay. So Sheena, I think you all are students first of all, and few of you are going to be a moderator for the future session. First of all, I would like to tell you one standard of industry: never take a name of the person who asked the question.
Oh,
Right? This is something belongs to privacy, because we are into a IT era, right? We are most of the time in the soft zone. So it's a rule, it's a personal privacy matter, right? So never take a name of the person who asked the question. Okay, and it's a learning for everyone. The second thing, coming to your question, that which field of the MBA is going to thrive a lot. So see, again, I don't see that any particular degree is going to make you skilled. Any particular degree is going to make you survive. Just think, what is your area of interest? If you love operations, go for MBA in operations, right? It is not the degree which pays you, it's your interest. Believe me, I can give you my example. Okay, I did my BTech and MTech in biomedical engineering, right? And from last 10 year I'm teaching, I'm into classroom, right? And I never thought, but I know that I love teaching, and I started working for that development. But I'm not doing anything related to my engineering. I did my BTech and masters. I have published so many international research papers in biomedical engineering, but I'm not getting paid because of my biomedical degree. I'm getting paid because of my skills, what I have developed. So just a real time example: whatever you like, do it. Don't think second. Don't ask anyone. Whatever you like in this world, do it, because I can guarantee you, the thing which you like, the degree which you like, the course which you like, if you do that, you will, for sure, you will go beyond your expectations in that.
Sir, there is another question.
Yeah.
Are we able to see replacement in software coding?
Uh, yeah. It is going to be a mixed answer for this. Are we going to see the replacement for software codings? Not exactly. Okay, it is going to be 50-50% for coming time, because there are software, there are machines which develop the codes, but they don't develop the codes according to our expectations. So we need human interventions. Okay, so the coding is not going to be replaced fully. Okay, because coding is something we develop the machine nowadays. Okay, for example, any software is developed by the coding. So the you know software, the coding is basically a core of the development, so it is not going to be fully replaced. But yes, I can say maybe 20 or 30% of the coding work may replace in future, in coming time.
Okay, so there's one more question coming up.
Yeah.
People are asking how teachers can prepare themselves for post-COVID job scenarios.
Yes, very good question. Right, how the teachers can prepare. First of all,
Hmm.
I would like to give a hint to the teachers: start preparing for indirect delivery methods. Okay,
Hmm.
non-conventional delivery method, except uh, most of the teachers are very much accomplished, and most of the teachers are very much happy,
Hmm.
delivering in the classroom, and they're very comfortable, right? But believe me,
Hmm.
post covid we are going to impact this classroom scenario. Okay, most of the things are going to move to online. Most of the things are going to be indirect scenario. That is the one thing. So try to prepare yourself more and more for the virtual environment. That is one thing. The second thing is for the teacher post covid is, teachers need to reskill and upskill themselves. That is the most needed thing for the teachers. Okay, continuous reskilling and continuous upskilling. Okay, I can give you a very good example again.
Hmm.
For
Hmm.
example, I'm not a very conventional trainer for the presentation what I have delivered today, right? But when I use, as soon as this lockdown happened, and from lot of colleges and lot of educational institutions, I start getting requests of this kind of lecture. So what I did,
Hmm.
I started my study working on this job scenarios in March 2020, and I have developed this presentation. Okay, I did my research, I have developed, and I have already used this presentation in 10 lectures, right? So basically,
Okay.
yeah, so you have to do continuous upskilling and reskilling for yourself. Okay, it's not what I know. You have to think of what is the need of time, what is the need of
Hmm.
hour, right? So that is very important for the teachers. Always check and pulse the need of the hour. We cannot, it's not the era we can teach our student what I know. Sorry. Okay, we have to teach our student what my student wanted to know. There's a difference, right? Because if you go 10 years back, 5 years back, or 15 years back, the professors, the teachers, they used to enter into a classroom and they start teaching what they wanted to teach, right? But no, the world is changing very fast. Now we have to check what the student wanted to learn, and that we have to deliver, right? So we are basically on toes with this change.
Hmm. So, we are developing, right? You said also, we in this entire session we were discussing upon education, we were discussing upon technology, robotics, and these stuffs. Will robots replace teachers someday? Will artificial intelligence replace teachers someday?
Yeah, good question. So no, it is not going to happen as of now. As of now, it is not going to happen. But I cannot really comment on future, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
uh, even as a report, I can show you, if I'll go back on my slide, even in the report of World Economic Forum, the learning is a one career. You can see on the learning is again active learning and learning strategies, right? It is always trending job, right? So teachers are always required, because I would say one more thing here, that there is something called, I think, some disturbance in the line. Okay, so you know the Yeah, thanks. So the answer to this question is, as we are developing, as we are getting more and more machines, people are getting more foolish. People are getting intellectually bankrupt now, right? This is a very special term, intellectual bankruptcy. Okay, means we have stopped thinking for a common sense, right? We have stopped using our common sense. So believe me, till the industries are dealing with the human beings, till the industries are using humans, teachers are required. So teachers are one of the integral part of this arena and this century. Shruti, I think you are on mute. Please unmute yourself first.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One more question is there. I guess this is the last question of our session.
Yeah.
Sir, today we are stuck in this COVID scenario case, right? Also, if we talk about education, so schools, they have shifted their education, they have shifted on online teaching methodology. But if we see the rural areas of India, people are still unaware of technology, the mobile phone, online classes, internet, and all this stuff. So what we as youth can contribute in all this?
Okay. Great question. So there are, I think this answers into a two part. So first
Hmm.
section is like, what about the rural India? So
Hmm.
yes, I'm sure the rural India is going to be concerned in this case, and even I have seen through the research that as soon as the school have shifted from, direct delivery mode to the virtual delivery mode. So most of the private schools, most of the public schools have adopted this phenomena very quickly. But there is a challenge with the
Hmm.
government schools, right?
Hmm.
Where there be lack of infrastructure, where be lack of training. Okay, so they are suffering. That is a one thing. But one great thing is there, that India has a 100% mobile density population. Can you imagine that in India almost every citizen is using mobile phone?
Okay.
That's a survey, right? Even in rural population as well,
Hmm.
right? If you look at the active numbers, active mobile numbers now in India, it is more than the population India have, right?
Hmm.
So there are few people who have two numbers or three numbers, but at least everyone in in this India, at least
Hmm.
everyone is having mobile, right?
Hmm.
Except some exceptions may lie here and there. That is the one thing, right? So if you see, the mobile is in the hand of everyone now. Okay, it itself give a key to the youth that we can do something with the mobile. So mobile is a big transformation in the Indian lives, right?
Hmm.
Even especially for the rural life, right? So if the youth can think of something, delivering this knowledge, delivering this information through mobile, through communication, because the previous challenge maybe 10 years back, the challenge is there is no communication to the rural India, right?
Hmm.
But now we are able to connect. Most of the villages are having electricity, most of the villages are having connectivity, right? So we
Hmm.
can reach, right? We can reach. And
Hmm.
you can think of like, like if I'm talking about 20 years back, it is not possible to connect virtually with you guys, and I'm sitting in Pune and you people are into MP, right? It's
Hmm.
impossible, right? But now it is possible, right? So what makes it? The communication technology. So communication technology is available in this world now, right? Even rural India is also having access to a communication. I will not say the 100% of rural India is having access to the communication, but still I can claim for 60 to 65%
Hmm.
people are having an
Hmm.
access to the communication, and the youth can think of something delivering this kind of education through mobile. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs, I know a lot of NGOs who are doing in this sector. There is a one NGO. I think you people can, whenever you have a time, you can just refer to that NGO, Teach for India.
Hmm.
Okay, Teach for India is the NGO which is working in this sector with the rural and even the urban students who don't have an access to school, and they are doing a tremendous job, tremendously good job. And I'm very much inspired by Teach for India. So just you can also think for guys, some of you can join Teach for India. Teach for India requires a teacher everywhere, right? And they're doing really good. So it can be a good training for you guys, those who are going to complete your B.Ed or your basic education, and you are interested into teaching. Go for Teach for India internship.
Okay. So there's thank you so much, sir. There's one more question coming up.
Yeah.
As you told, data analysis will be on hike, but no data entry manual operator. Then how can we see a difference in our skills?
Okay, so there you just need to recognize the difference between data entry and data analysis. Data entry is like, I have given you a form, and you have to fill the first name, second name, third name, and the qualification and all these things. This is what the data entry is. You have to fill up the fields. Now, data analysis. Data analysis is, let's say I have asked a question to my employee, okay, that how many person have filled this form. Just right away, I can see the link of your attendance on the chat pan, right? So everybody will fill, right? So everyone is doing their data entry job for themselves, right?
Hmm,
So
correct.
by default, the data entry job is out. Earlier in colleges and in school, what happens, the teacher used to mark manual attendance, and then it goes to the
Hmm,
centralized department, and somebody used to enter into the computer. Now it is
okay.
by default enter into the computer. So the data entry job is out, number one. Number two is, now the whomsoever is going to open this form will have a analytics. It will show the graph that we have received 200 participation requests, but 120 people have joined so far. Okay, so we have a attendance ratio of 70%. So this 70% calculation is a data analytics. So we need the person who can do the data analytics.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I guess all the questions are answered now.
Mhm.
Shruti, I want to ask last
Hmm,
question to sir.
hmm, hmm.
Sir, I would like to request you to share some links which will help us to upskill our talent from your side.
Okay, so what I can do is I'm gonna share some of the links with the Tanuja madam and maybe the Dr. Sheena Thomas,
Hmm.
right? And she can distribute to you, right? Not now.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions?
I guess all the questions are answered now. Participants are clear with things. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I guess we should end the session here. It was such a pleasure to have you here today to listen your opinions, your thought. They were really helpful. To our valued guest, on behalf of the entire education department and science department, I would like to thank you, sir, for sharing your opinions, your thoughts to us, for helping us, for letting us know how we can upskill ourselves, for filling us with confidence. Thank you so much, sir. It was really pleasure of us to have you here.
Thank you so much, guys. And just I wanted to add, when I was a student, I was the one who is most afraid of asking questions. And later on in my part of life, I learned that the asking a question is very important thing. If you don't ask question, you go
Hmm,
behind, right?
hmm.
So by understanding that, I'm sharing my mail ID on this last slide, that is techyadav@gmail.com. Even if you
Hmm.
wanted to share your questions, and you can talk to me, okay, later as well, I will love to answer your questions, right? Please feel free to write me. Maybe it will take 1 or 2 days for me to answer your questions, but I will answer for sure.